look bad, it is bad. Arsenal have confirmed that Gabriel Jesus suffered an ACL injury in that defeat by Manchester United on Sunday. Now, in all likelihood, that doesn't just rule him out of this season, but the start of next as well. Well, speaking before the news broke, Mikel Arteta said Arsenal were already looking to strengthen the squad and not just up front.
We are actively looking in the market to improve the squad. And that's been since day one. We will be naive not to do that because it's an opportunity always to evolve the team, to improve the squad, and especially with the circumstances that we have. So yes, we are looking and we are trying, and let's see what we are able to do.
You said it wasn't in your hands. What did you mean by that?
Well, you have to recruit a player. There are three parties, and you have to agree to that. And we have our limitations as well, like any other club.
Do you believe now that you have to bring in what would be considered an out-and-out striker through the middle, number 9?
We have to believe that if we bring something, it's going to make us better. And there are.
But in that position in particular?
No, but it's in any position because we have other issues as well.
So, Rob, Arteta says they are actively looking. Where are they looking?
They've had a number of options, Mike. In fact, they've been looking for a striker for more than a year, let's be honest, even before these injury problems arose. But because of Jesus' injury in particular, I think there's a couple of options that they've got directly. I mean, look, you look at the squad they've got. They've only really got Kai Havertz, other than the poor old injured Gabriel Jesus, who's an out-and-out striker. Yes, Raheem Sterling can play as a number 9. Yes, he can play with a false number 9, but they don't have many genuine strikers. David Ornstein says they're looking at loans abroad. Well, look, in truth, they have to look abroad because they've got 2 Premier League loans already in Neto and Sterling, so they can't take another one from this country. They have to look at foreign loans from abroad. One of those, I understand, is Benjamin Sesko at RB Leipzig. Arsenal like him. They looked at him during the summer. Could they get him now? Well, it's difficult to get a player of that calibre, difficult to get any top striker in January, but supposedly his release clause is about £55 million, which for a top striker is not bad value. I think what Arsenal are trying to work out here is, well, when Gabriel Jesus comes back and when Bukayo Saka comes back, he's not a striker, but he contributes a lot of goals. Does this new player get into the side? Have they got too many forward options then? What sort of money do you spend to cover for injury problems? So Sesko's definitely an option. So is Dusan Vlahovic. Definite interest there. Juventus trying to sign Randall Kolo Muani from PSG, where he's been frozen out. If they get him, might that free up Vlahovic to come to Arsenal? Bit of breaking news for you, Mike, that's absolutely relevant to that. Sky Italy, our colleagues over there, are saying that Juventus have an agreement in place now with PSG for the loan signing of Randall Kolo Muani. Does that mean that Vlahovic is somebody they might let go? Does that mean that Arsenal are going to be straight on the phone?
That also has a knock-on effect for another number of other Premier League clubs who have been looking at him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Manchester United and Spurs have both been interested in Vlahovic. And that's the point. Top-class strikers in European football are coveted by a number of clubs. So there's no guarantees Arsenal are going to get him. There's no guarantees that Arsenal are actively looking at him right now. But we know they like Vlahovic. We know they like Sesko. And just that little window with Juventus has opened up in the last few minutes with that news that's broken. Does just give Arsenal a glimmer of light there, I think.
I think for Arsenal fans, though, the frustration will be that Arsenal need a striker now, but they needed a striker in the summer. They probably needed a striker a year ago and the summer before. And clubs have contingencies, they have lists. So Arsenal will have options. And I think the argument is that now is the time to move. And probably Arsenal should have brought a striker in the summer. Pep Guardiola talked about this, that he didn't want to bring players in the summer, and maybe that was a mistake. And maybe it was a mistake for Arsenal not to sign a striker in the summer as well.
OK, and they've confirmed that Gabriel Jesus has got an ACL injury, serious knee injury, which is a year, isn't it?
Of course.
Out. Does that mean they have to go in the market and have to get a forward?
Well, I think this is something that we've spoken about for a while, haven't we? Do Arsenal need that centre forward? I think the fact of the injuries that they've got has probably accelerated that even more. The likes of Saka, who we know is so key in terms of assists and goals. You then have Jesus, who I feel so sorry for because he was just really coming into form and scoring goals. He looked confident. Obviously, Wanyeri as well, another player who, you know, he's got so much potential. He's come into the side and got injured. So they've been so unfortunate with injuries. So you feel it's probably accelerated that even more to go out and get another attacking option. We know that Mikel Arteta likes to share the goals around, but you look at the last couple of games where they've had so many opportunities, but just not found the back of the net enough. So that's something that I'm sure they're looking at behind the scenes.
Do Arsenal, this is probably the best chance they'll have. Manchester City are off it. City dominated the Premier League for such a long time.
Yeah.
Do they need to get people in and get over the line and win a Premier League?
Oh, of course, that's what Arsenal fans want. That's what Mikel Arteta wants. You think they've come so close, losing out to a fantastic team like Manchester City. So you think with Manchester City dropping off, then of course they will feel like this is their real opportunity. Obviously, Liverpool have been brilliant this season and they're now trying to play catch-up. So, of course, they've been unfortunate, like I say, with those injuries. And I am probably not all doom and gloom with Arsenal. I'm more on the positive side in terms of the creating the opportunity. So you think eventually that's going to come. So instead of looking at those games and going, well, they've lost, you know, they've not taken the chances that they should have taken, they create them, and I think that's a positive moving forward. So, yeah, I'm looking at it from a positive perspective from Arsenal.
Should City...
Good afternoon to you at home, to James Savundra, Dan Bardell and Dave Reed. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta wouldn't be drawn on the length of time Gabriel Jesus could be out for. The forward suffered a suspected ACL injury in the FA Cup defeat to Manchester United on Sunday. Yeah,
we know more now, and it's not looking good at all. But we need to review one more specialist, so probably we'll have the total information this afternoon. I don't want to confirm anything again till we have the final report this afternoon, and I think it's the doctor's job to do that. But yeah, we were very worried straight away after the game, and we are very worried today.
So I don't want to be a pessimist, but there's a chance it could be a season-ending injury.
Well, again, let's wait here this afternoon.
Obviously, with this injury to Jesus, potentially quite serious, does that change your thinking about the transfer window?
We are actively looking in the market to improve the squad, and that's been since day one. We will be naive not to do that because it's an opportunity always to evolve the team, to improve the squad, and especially with the circumstances that we have. So yes, we are looking and we are trying, and let's see what we are able to do.
Mikel Arteta talking there. Dan, I'm going to start with you. Suspected ACL injury. We know players likely to miss large periods of time. How big of a blow is this, not just for Gabriel Jesus, but for Arsenal as well?
Yeah, obviously, first off, for the player, it's bad news. Just when he's started to get back into some form, he's been in the goals recently, got himself back in the team, and now just as he'll feel he's got himself going, potentially his season's over. So sad news for the player. From an Arsenal perspective, it feels pretty big to me. It feels like something that might end up shaping their January, because whereas before maybe they were just looking for opportunities like they have done previously in Januaries with Jorginho and Trossard, for example, a few Januaries ago. It now feels like they might need to move away from opportunistic signings, and that this is now a necessity. This is something that they have to do, because there's no doubt with injuries, and maybe even without the injuries, they're short in the forward positions. They've only got Havertz in the squad that can play centre-forward. They've let players go in the summer that can play in that position. It feels now that, you know, they've got 2 weeks here. It's not a case of, you know, if something comes up, that they need something to come up now, Arsenal, because they are short. And if they want to maintain the challenges on all fronts, the Champions League, the Premier League, possibly still the Carabao Cup, if they can turn the second leg around, they're going to need another forward option, because there's a long way to go yet in this season. Yeah, so Jesus out for a while. Dave, how Arsenal fans would love for one of these players to be still at the club.
I know. Arsenal have had some iconic forwards down the years, and we wanted to pick out a few of them for you this afternoon. All of these players you see here have won major honours at the club, and all brought something a little bit different as well to the Arsenal teams that they played in. We've got, well, deep-lying forwards here. We've got creative players. We've got penalty box strikers. We've got off-the-shoulder players. We've got physicality as well amongst the players on the video wall here. Front-line pace. Most of all, though, for Arsenal supporters, they loved the lethal finishing that these players brought to the Arsenal front line. So what about the options Mikel Arteta has at his disposal now? Well, Gabriel Jesus has suffered that serious knee injury. We expect full confirmation of that this afternoon. And Bukayo Saka is out until at least March, we think. It leaves Arsenal with Kai Havertz, Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard as the forward options for the manager.
Yeah, James, they let go. Dan sort of vaguely mentioned it earlier. They let go of attacking players in the summer. I know hindsight's a wonderful thing and they would never have known that Saka was going to be out for a long time and this was going to happen to Jesus. But do you think Arsenal had enough forward options in the summer?
Well, it's important to reflect on what they did in the summer with Emile Smith-Rowe and Eddie Nketiah leaving the club for serious money, it must be said, and pure profit because they're academy graduates, so that helped them massively from a business point of view and in terms of profit and sustainability. Fabio Vieira and Reece Nelson both went out on loan as well. All four of those players didn't get enough minutes last season, so it was understandable for Arsenal to move those players on. But they didn't really make any replacements in that forward area. Mikel Merino was the most advanced signing in terms of players up the pitch that they brought in, but he's a number 8. So they've not really strengthened that area of the pitch, the front line, for 3 or 4 years, really. When you look at what they've done, they've spent £140 million on 6 forwards over the last 5 years compared to nearly £300 million on 16 defenders and goalkeepers over the course of Arteta's tenure. You can understand what they've done, and they've really been rewarded in terms of those foundations being really strong. Arsenal have the best defence in the Premier League by some distance. Yes, they've been shipping the odd goal in recent matches, but overall, we saw last season, we've seen this season, that is a really strong foundation they have. The issue is, if Saka, and he's unfit at the moment, Martinelli and Ødegaard aren't firing and almost overperforming in front of goal, that's when they're really going to struggle, and that's when they are reliant on the set pieces. I guess the encouraging sign is that they have been creating chances in the last 2 matches, 20-odd shots against Newcastle, 20-odd shots against Manchester United, but they're missing that person to tuck away those chances, and that is why they're in the situation where they really need to act in this window if they're to save their season, you think.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a big month for Arsenal. Now, Sky Germany are reporting that Borussia Dortmund are exploring a deal to sign Arsenal's Alexander Zinchenko. There has been no formal approach. Sky Germany also believe Arsenal are open to allowing him to leave on loan with an obligation to buy of approximately £16.8 million. I mean, Zinchenko's not getting that much game time under Arteta, Dan. They would be getting less or just slightly more than half of what they paid for him when they bought him from Manchester City. Do you feel like this has worked out, Zinchenko to Arsenal?
I think he's probably served his purpose at this point. Him and Jesus were brought in at a time when Arsenal, I think, had just finished 5th in the Premier League, didn't have Champions League football, and these were 2 players that were seen to take Arsenal back into the Champions League. What actually ended up happening, without these 2 probably being important players for Arsenal, they became a title-challenging team for the last couple of years, and it almost moved on from those 2 players a little bit. Those 2 players were no longer what they really required to get themselves to that next level now, which then the next level became actually winning the Premier League. So I think there'll be intangible things that both have offered in terms of being in the dressing room, but I think this season in particular, Miles Lewis-Skelly's development in recent months has hurt Zinchenko. Arsenal have got a lot of players that they can put into that left-back position within their squad. So he's kind of surplus to requirements at this current time, and the development of the youngster is probably more important to Arsenal at this point than a player that isn't going to be seen as being good enough over the next year or 2. So I think, you know, for the fee they paid, the fee that they're going to get back for him, I don't think it's a transfer failure. I just think Arsenal have moved on to a level above that player now.
Arsenal have received a boost in their pursuit of Benjamin Sesko after failing to secure the striker during the summer transfer window. Mikel Arteta's side have been among the clubs looking to bring in a high-quality striker since the conclusion of the last campaign. The Gunners explored several potential options but eventually focused their attention on Sesko. However, the Slovenian forward decided to remain at RB Leipzig, even extending his stay by signing a new contract with the German outfit. His decision has been justified, as Sesko has continued to impress and is now considered one of the finest strikers in the Bundesliga. Despite this setback, Arsenal's interest in the player has not diminished. The club are reportedly expected to make another attempt to sign the forward during the summer transfer window. Sesko remains a vital figure in Leipzig's squad, but recent developments suggest his time at the club may be nearing an end. Reports from Football London claim that Leipzig are set to sign another attacker, with Noah Okafor potentially arriving before the current transfer window closes. This move could have significant implications for Sesko's future. If Okafor joins, it might indicate that Leipzig is preparing for the possibility of Sesko's departure. The German club's actions suggest they could be willing to part ways with the Slovenian at the end of the season, which would give Arsenal a clear opportunity to reignite their interest in the talented striker. Sesko has demonstrated remarkable qualities as a forward, blending physicality with technical skill and an eye for goal. His performances have earned him admiration across Europe, and his addition to Arsenal's squad could provide the attacking depth and firepower Arteta's team needs to sustain their ambitions. Signing Sesko would not only address Arsenal's need for a top-class striker but also signal their intent to compete at the highest level domestically and in Europe. With Leipzig potentially clearing the path for his departure, Arsenal will hope to seize this opportunity to secure one of the Bundesliga's brightest talents.